fire service. So, but you know, when it comes to this sensitive organization, police, customs, and those very juicy places, they don't play.
All right, but Shawara, let's take a look at Bashir Adeniyi. I mean, he's got this very good CV that a lot of people have been saying, and he was recently elected to chair the World Customs Organization. And don't you think that President Tinubu could have been looking at it from that perspective, that look, removing this person by this time when he's chairing the World Customs body could actually affect Nigeria's image, and that, of course, this modernization project that is ongoing in the customs, that he looks pretty fit to be able to help drive this idea ahead of next year.
The World Customs Organization is an NGO, and he's representing Nigeria. There is not in his private capacity as Adeniyi. So if tomorrow you appoint a new custom guy, he will just sit on the seat. He's representing Nigeria, and these are not important positions. These are nominal positions. These are not positions that affect Nigeria in any way. It doesn't have any value. And the issue of modernization of customs, if you want to modernize the custom, you cannot look for a guy who has been in custom for how many years, who has never modernized it. So are you telling me that in the next 1 year, custom is going to become AI-powered by a guy who has been in custom for 35 years and didn't modernize it? He was never known until now. In fact, the only thing I know this guy about is hounding a journalist who was exposing corruption at the borders, smuggling. That's what he's known for, if you ask many Nigerians.
Well, Shawara, he's been a spokesperson of the Nigeria Customs Service. I mean, a whole lot of people know him. I mean, you wouldn't say that you don't know him yourself. And I'm saying... being
a spokesperson of Nigerian Customs doesn't make you competent Customs CG. Just like my friend here, he was Babangida's spokesperson for many years.
Actually,
would you appoint him as the president of Nigeria?
Will you not be unfair?
I'm talking about Afebua, you know.
Will you not be unfair to say that Adeniyi is unknown? I mean, Kasim Afebua, you want to chip in?
No, you see, well, God is talking very seriously.
Not spokesperson.
Adeniyi is a professional colleague. He's a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. I'm a member. And from his trajectory, he has put up very robust performance, engagement, to the point that even Nigerian Customs are posting different figures now, very encouraging figures in terms of revenue. They have overshot their benchmark. And just to quickly tell you that the last time I checked appointments, northwest zone of the country has a higher number of appointees than the southwest. It doesn't mean that you may decide
but what people have been saying is that the weight of the appointees from the south, specifically southwest, actually
let me
goes much more higher.
You see, it is because of our corruptive mind that we see one appointment as weighty and the other one. Every organization, including the cleaner of that organization, plays a very important role in ensuring that that organization's goals and objectives are met. It is the same thing with Nigeria. Once appointments are given, you are expected to perform optimally to ensure that you deliver on the responsibility vested in you. You see, the point is, I saw the distribution, the graphic distribution recently of appointments. Northwest, by way of a manner of population, has the highest number of appointees, followed by Southwest, followed by North Central, followed by Northeast, then South-South, and Southeast. That's the pattern of distribution. I don't want to hear somebody tell me this one is weighty, this one is not weighty.
And the juicy ones.
The other juicy. Those are
one area that Nigeria used to criticize this present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is nepotism. That the man is too nepotic in his approach. That he bombarded this administration with a Yoruba. Example of it is what we are experiencing now in the customs service of Nigeria. We are the tenure of current, Controller General Adeniyi Adewale is being extended by a year, whereas we have a DCJ, Deputy Controller General Nwafo, from Southeast, another one, Uguam, I think that one will be from North Central. Both of them, they are there to replace this man, but instead of Tinubu to let Adeniyi to go, he extend his tenure so that he will block the remaining people. What do you have to say about this one?
Unfortunately, that takes us back to the history of how the Igbo hate has been embedded into the system politically and otherwise before now. We saw that when immediately indirect rule, was introduced because the British colonial master was not able to penetrate the entire eastern region as it were then, that was the beginning of the generation of people started generating reservations where other people, how come indirect rule was being introduced instead of normal conquest, fight, war, weaponization of use of to conquer the eastern region as a result of that resistance. But we have seen the political trajectory since that time to this present day, where we are seeing tribalism at the national level, nationalizing tribalism, and people begin to wonder when the Middle Belt came up with the condemnation, and of course Ohanese has called Tinubu to order, and that takes us to the Yoruba Igbo feud. Let me just put it that way, or the seeming vex-off between the Yoruba and the Igbo people, and then taking back to the history, bordering on what actually transpired in 1976 during the Nigeria-Biafran War. I think, to an extent, but we must realize this: for a very long time in the history of Nigeria, the Igbo nation has never been able to produce, a Controller General of the Customs, and we can see that this is a barefooted, a bare-faced, play of ethnic tribalism at the national level with that reservation. And a lot of people wonders why Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is also a Southerner, who is supposed to be a kind of trying to show support for the Igbo people, especially now when we're not minding the elephant we have in the room there, the Mazin the kind of factor. But when it comes to normalization of the political nationalism in Nigeria, the Tinubu administration has deliberately, sidelined what is due for Igbo, even though there was observations about his presence position in Aso Rock now, having meant for, a Southeasterner. But we must understand very clearly that we don't know why these things are breeding, to an extent of where we find ourselves at the era of civilization, where some of these things should have been nipped in the bud, and some of these things would have been buried finally, and there should not have been any traces between this kind of sentiment arising. Is Tinubu actually under the Fulani influence not to allow the Igbo man, or not to allow the Easterner, or not to allow an Igbo person come closer to reality? We've not been able to get to at that level till this moment. And the only opportunity we have now, and Tinubu has thrown extremism into it, and that was put Nwafo, BU Nwafo now at the beg is supposed to be retiring by October 2026. And we have seen this one, Adeniyi, who is the President Controller General, that his tenure has actually expired. And what Tinubu would have done, is to see how he can extend, a hand of reconciliation, whatever reservation, whatever it is, at that national level, showing that he is not just an ethnic president, he is a national president. And this very decision he has taken at this moment has betrayed whatever synergy or romance these two powerful regions will want to build based on reality on ground. Most of people do not believe it will come to that extent, because I saw extremism of it during Buhari, where he tailored everything against his own people, and we are seeing almost the same thing again in this present administration. It baffles many with deep thought on how he came to this kind of decision. decision, even when the reality stares him on the face, and he tried as much as possible to play national tribalism.
I wonder where APC land this tenure elongation, because when I was growing up, that was when we have our democracy. That was when our democracy was very new that time, 1999. And I've never heard that a particular IG supposed to retire. Then Mr. President elongate his tenure. I think we started here this one during the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari, when he elongated the tenure of this man. I mean, the surface, not even tenure, that he was not elected, Mama Tuko, Bratai, and the rest of them, and adding to their years of service. Where do you think APC land this devilish strategy of perpetrating people that deserve to be retired in service?
Overwhelming disappointment. Everything you see happening in that regard, as you just put your question directly the way it's supposed to be, is if you look at it very well, historically, you can see at every point in time you see this kind of shame being placed on the face of 250 million people of nationhood and unity. You discover that behind it is an Igbo man and somebody from the east, and when it comes to that level, they want to make sure that they do not allow any space in that regard. And that's why we see it did not start from Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but it came as a big surprise, having been institutionalized as a means of conquest and oppression against the Igbo people, by APC government, and it became significant under Buhari administration. And now this man, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is seeking vote from the Easterners, and I was surprised that the likes of Umahi, them and all the Igbo funny, tailored Fulani ministers and governors have not been able to pressure on Bola Ahmed Tinubu to at least drive justice to an extent. I don't know whether it is because of a big factor or whatever, but if you're actually seeking relevance as a Southern president, considering the fact that the Yoruba and the Igbo people are also of Southern extraction, and anything that's been done in that regard is being seen, as consolidation of the entire South. But that is a bit different, signaling that, there's a deep reservation about how, stating from Lagos, where he was a governor, and what has happened in Lagos thereafter. People are asking questions apart from this Lagos. When you go to other neighboring states like Ibadan, Oyo, Ogun, and other, you don't see such things happen. There's no Igbophobia there. Nobody's saying this or nobody. But when it comes to Lagos, you see these things rising ugly head on daily basis, and people are asking, what is it about Lagos? And this man has gone to the national level now, and you have seen this thing being played out, that has been condemned by the Middle Belt, that has been condemned by the Niger Delta people, that has been condemned by the Ohanese. The only people who are not saying anything in this regard are the likes of Umahi, because it is not an IPOB thing. The likes of Benjamin, who is the deputy speaker, they are not saying anything, unfortunately. The Eastern governor, nobody is saying anything there. The ministers, nobody is saying anything of Igbo extraction, nobody is saying anything. And fortunately, a Yoruba group came out and condemned this Tinubu's administration, and saying that this is an open call, of national tribalism, and of course, sending a certain signal to the Igbo people that, in fact, there's no romance, whatever. And these are the things we are talking about. When this is being bred up by their fellow Southerners, then where is the basis of national unity? Like they said in different tongues, according to our former national anthem, in different tongues, but in unity we stand. So where is the unity in this regard?
Well, before I go to, I have two questions before we go now. First of all, let me do this. I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he has two options if you want to perpetrate a Yoruba man there. There's this culture of Mr. President can handpick from like 3 or 4 or 5 people that are qualified. And if they pick somebody that's below you, then you must retire automatically. I think that one, so I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu look for do you want to call this one better option rather than, retire this one, let this one go, then go to downward and pick, even if you find a Yoruba man there, then the remaining one will retire. Which one do you think will have been better?
I think it has to be, it has undertone, it has the issue of security at heart, it has the issue of, it is my people, it is we thing, and it has, not only that, if you can see what happened in Lagos recently and what has been happening in Lagos State, you understand? Tinubu is not even from Lagos, and he cannot speak for real Lagosians, and that's the fact. And real Lagosians have come to condemn most of these people who are trying to create a certain Igbophobia factor in Lagos, are the people who he took from Lagos here and made them ministers and cabinet members of his administration right there in Aso Rock. So it's the same mentality that he took to the national level. And these other people too, where you see in Lagos State here, have the likes of Ononogadem and the rest of them, Buala, call them names or whatever you call them, is the same people he took at the national level. So Aluta continue, hatred continue, sidelining, lopsidedness, suppression and oppression continue. How would you tell me that BU1 who has grown through the ranks of, of customs, and get to that level, and somebody has been identified to have been qualified for retirement, you are now extending, and this person is not even a northerner, is a fellow, southern. And for posterity's sake, the eastern part of the country has never ever occupied that position since the beginning of democratic processes in Nigeria, talking about 1999.
Now this where you're about to end it, then that's where I want to come in. Why is it that there are some office, it seems it has been established for the North alone? Because this thing you just said is not only peculiar to Southeast alone. Yoruba man has never been a custom controller general since its creation. I think I have to be, corrected if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's happening, and I don't think a Yoruba man has ever been. Look at the office of EFCC since its creation during the regime of Obasanjo. I don't think a Southern has been able to occupy that office. Why is it like that? That there are some offices that are created particularly for a set of people, not for the whole general, of this country?
I think to an extent, because of the consolidation of power of the Fulani oligarchy, both in the military and the political space in Nigeria, we're going to see these things being criminalized as a policy. It's a criminalized policy, it does not represent a federal character. It does not portray unity of Nigeria. But immediately after the Nigerian-Biafran Civil War, we'll begin to see extreme gap in all this. They begin to see a certain position within the context of the unity of Nigeria as their own possession, as their own right, as their own privilege, that you dare not come closer, and which is unfortunate. Had it been that Ab initio, the southern power blocks, political blocks, were able to stand their ground. But the Igbos have a proper reservation against this thing, because you know that at any point in time, they will be seen as victims, or they can be seen as, organizing an uprising. But because of this seemingly disloyalty among the South, being championed or being carried out or by the Fulani oligarchy to divide the South, so that they can be able to be very extremely manipulative, in that regard. Yes, what you said is very correct. We have not seen a Yoruba man come take up that position, as a result of, I will begin to see the quest of national breakup completely from nationalism, anything that has to do with Nigeria, threatened by the southern governors at that time, and it's not sensing that it might likely break up, and they will lose their hold on the crude oil of Nigeria, and therefore destabilizing the entire wealth of the North. So they quickly, manage themselves and all that. So but what we are saying at this point in time, now that the jinx has broken and at the time of the South, and if you look at what the Northerners have done in that regard in the past years, you discover that people from Northwest and Northeast has also occupied that position. Then why is it at this point in time we are not seeing having breakdowns, and we have seen a Southwesterner and we have seen a qualified Easterner for the first time? I think that legacy would have been left for posterity, but Bola Ahmed Tinubu to take up that.
Thank you very much.